If you think I care more about loyalty to the MAGA cause than I care about pedophiles in positions of power getting away with it, you are out of your mind. If you think that I am that blind and dumb and loyal to any person, left or right, that I'm going to go, oh, okay, we gotta let pedophilia go. Okay, we gotta just move on. It's a hoax.
You look at these Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, and so all of them, they were all the never Trumpers. Like, how stupid does everybody have to be? What, do you not remember the National Review piece, Never Trump?
We know what we voted for. We know why we got behind Trump, and we know that we're not getting it.
Donald Trump's been a major disappointment. That's what Candace Owens and Dave Smith think, and they're not alone. Much of Trump's support has peeled away from him, especially since the Epstein scandal, the Epstein cover-up. And they get into why this has occurred, why blind loyalty to Trump can't be demanded anymore when he fails to deliver on some of his best promises. So let's get into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
To Donald Trump, it's like, whether you even know about any of this or not, you're still doing it. You've allowed your administration to be taken over by these guys. Now, look, I mean, I don't even think, to use an example about me, right? Like, I don't think that Donald Trump watched my debate with Douglas Murray and then decided to promote Douglas Murray's book the next day. But
Right.
somebody who's got access to Donald Trump's Twitter or whatever decided to the next day promote this book after it was like this. And okay, whatever. Like, I didn't care. I kind of took that as a feather in my cap. Like, yeah, you got to call in the big dogs to try to get us out of this. But at the end of all of this, whatever it is, it's like the Trump administration here has obviously been much more captured by Netanyahu and Mark Levin than by Candace Owens.
Yes, it's occupied. Everybody can see this is an occupied administration. And I love how they're I think right now I'm trending on X over this. So Candace Owens says she regrets her vote. You're not going to shame me for saying everything you're doing is unacceptable. Try a mom on the Epstein stuff, okay? Try a mother. If you think I care more about loyalty to the MAGA cause than I care about pedophiles in positions of power getting away with it, you are out of your mind. You must have not listened to a single second of the Candace Owens podcast. You must have never listened to a thing I've ever said. If you think that I am that blind and dumb and loyal to any person, left or right, that I'm going to go, oh, okay, we gotta let pedophilia go. Okay, we gotta just move on. It's a hoax. You know, I know he actually went to prison for it. Okay.
Absurd. This is so good. She is so on fire. It's so absurd to demand loyalty to Trump when he doesn't return that loyalty in any way imaginable to his support base that demanded answers in the Epstein story, that demanded no new wars. Now we get one with Iran. It doesn't look like that's over, by the way, with, you know, the height of tensions of that theater possibly rearing their ugly heads again. In $38 trillion worth of debt. We're now talking about regime change in Venezuela. What is this nonsense? And what the Trump loyalists are so mad at Candace Owens about is being willing to stand on principle. Think about that. That's her greatest crime. That she's willing to stand on principle and hold him to account for his best campaign promises that he had as stated objectives for this administration, that he's been duplicitous about. It's not us that caused this turn away, which is bearing out in every single poll, by the way, with Trump's approval about as low as it's ever been in either term. It's because of Trump's actions. It's because he's surrounded himself and been led by the policies of Lindsey Graham and Randy Fine, endorsing and campaigning for both of them while dragging true heroes like Thomas Massey, who dares to tell the truth.
Yeah, but it's a hoax. And let's move on to it's a Democrat hoax. I mean, it's so insulting. And you are correct that you know that some of these things are coming from people around him, like immediately tweeting out. It was so disrespectful when Charlie died, a photo of Charlie AI. Do I think Donald Trump hopped on AI and made this photo of Charlie and him holding the Israeli-American flag combo? No. But I'm sorry, if you're not capable enough to control the people around you, then you shouldn't be in a position of power. Okay, I don't get to if something goes out on my account, right? And people go, oh, did this go on your account? And I don't get to go, oh, well, you know what? My producer had access to that. It's like, okay, but that's your account. So you take the blame. Okay, the captain goes down with the ship, and we don't even know, you know, who's in control, but we know it's not Trump. So this is effectively like the Biden administration, but totally actually worse because Trump has his wits about him, right?
That is true. And the treachery of trying to propagandize in favor of Israel, this foreign regime, in the moments after Charlie Kirk's death, is even made more treacherous through the revelations, as Candace Owens has produced, that Charlie literally said 48 hours before his death that I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Some people were privy to that, including Josh Scherer, that kept lying about him and his commitment to Israel to the end. It was as rigid as possible. And despite that, they still tried to use his death to propagandize in favor of this foreign country. I say get out of our country if you do that. You're prioritizing a rogue genocidal regime. Insane to me.
So with Biden, at least we knew, right, that he had dementia before they admitted it. At least we knew he wasn't in control the whole time. It's almost worse because Trump doesn't have dementia, because Trump is actually sharp and he is aware, and he is still occupied and somebody else is calling the shots.
Yeah, that's right. And the fact that you know, these guys who all of them, you know, like I've had this experience, right? Like I said, Josh Hammer, that's how he tried to debate me. That's how Steven Crowder tried to debate me. This guy's not pro-Trump. We're the pro-Trump side. Ben Shapiro did like several segments on me over the years. And the running joke was that he would never say my name. He would do segments, not of just like me on your show or me on Rogan's show or something, like on my show. Like he would do segments of my show. And
yeah, he'd be like, a comedian we all know. A major comedian said this.
Still go, this comedian who evidently says he's a libertarian, like he would never say Dave Smith. It's a very complicated name, but he would never say it. But then the first time he ever said my name was when I called for Trump to be impeached after he launched the war in Iran. And then he goes, here's Dave Smith calling to him. And like, all I'm saying is like, you look at these Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, and so all of them, they were all the never Trumpers. Like, how stupid does everybody have to be? What, do you not remember the National Review piece, Never Trump, in 2016?
They weren't even just never Trumpers. They stayed never Trumpers. They were pro DeSantis. Yes. And then DeSantis lost. So they haven't won. The person that they have wanted to put in office, they have not had a winning philosophy.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're like trying to convince us that they're MAGA.
Yeah, but they've successfully twisted Trump in their direction, man. They've won that battle within this administration. We've had neocon foreign policy. We've had neocon commitments to doubling down on emboldening the deep state and covering up for their atrocities and keeping Kash Patel in power, despite, you know, all the absurdities of the Kirk investigation and the Epstein cover-up. And they've just won Trump over by carefully managing his ego and then moving him in a neocon direction in all these foreign policy theaters. The war in Ukraine still rages on. Money being sent into the coffers of Zelensky when he said he'd, you know, bring about peace day one. Insane. Doubling down on Israel. Israel first. Never using U.S. leverage to withdraw, you know, aid from Israel. It's unthinkable. It's unfathomable. Israel could bomb Japan or the UK tomorrow. The United States would still not withdraw aid to Israel. That's why we're an occupied government. You know, flirting with regime change in Venezuela, again, same thing. They've managed his ego, which is a giant ego, and they've won that battle. Despite, as Dave said, they were never Trumpers.
I actually don't understand it.
No,
it's quite confusing.
Half of them pushed the Russiagate hoax. These were never Trumpers, and they were never Trumpers for a reason. Like, people just be like smart enough to see this for 1 second, right? Because it's funny when they come at me. Because look, I'm not like I voted for Trump this last time. I sat out the first two. I've always been like but the thing is, because I'm to the MAGA of him. I'm to the non-intervention of him. Like when Donald Trump came out and said, we're not going to fight these wars. Iraq, you lied us into Iraq, blah blah blah. But we'll still bomb them and we'll take the oil and we'll do this. I went, nope, too much. That's still too much intervention for me. Now, they rejected him because he was saying we shouldn't be so interventionist. I was over here like, you should be even more non-interventionist than that. Like, I want you to be Ron Paul. And so for them to sit here and say, it's like, yeah, dude, you guys all fought him over him signaling more in our direction of foreign policy, which is that we don't want to fight all these stupid wars. And it's like, yeah, they're trying to use this energy. It's like, so what do you guys want to do? You want to run on Mark Levin's platform? You want to run on Jeb Bush's platform? That's 1% in the polls, man.
Yeah, let's see them run on that in 2028. We'll see how they run. If this old school Republican neocon establishment is going to retake the party, it very well could. It seems indistinguishable in some ways from the party right now, outside of the true distant right that, thinks this is preposterous and have jumped ship. I think rightly so. My comments are filled from people that have that experience. I think that's the right move if you're a dissident right winger. But we'll see where they go from here, man. I'm sorry to say, this is a neocon and Zionist-occupied administration. We always knew it would be a Zionist-occupied administration. He puts in frickin' Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State, Mike Waltz as the Homeland Security Advisor. You have Mike Huckabee and John Ratcliffe. Person after person after person, the only precondition was they had to be a Zionist. Kash Patel. Even Robert F. Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard, they're Zionists. They're very pro-Israel. I mean, there are merits to Tulsi Gabbard compared to some of these other monsters, but she seems compromised too. That is where this direction has gone in this administration. He just proved to be duplicitous, and he duped people. He became a charlatan, and I think it behooves us to just recognize that. Let's call a spade a spade. He's just a neocon too.
It's like, so they have to almost rely on running like us, but then, like trying to, I don't know, demonize all of us or something.
It's infiltration. They have to like pretend, and then infiltrate, and then try to force like neocon, pro-military, pro-intervention, nonstop bombing of some countries so we can steal their resources and pretend that there was some moral democratic reason that we were there. And people are awake to it. So I do wonder, it seems like they're playing checkers. It's nobody's believing that you're original MAGA. I mean, it's such a weird thing. It's like, they're like, the problem are these people who actually got Trump elected when we were attacking him. Like, the problem are these people. They're so extreme. We're right back. We're hamsters on a wheel, right? We are just right back to the beginning here, and we're the basket of deplorables. Okay, let's go. Like, and now it's like Trump, I guess, like I said, has joined Never Trump, or is being controlled by the Never Trump movement. It doesn't matter. Our eyes are clear on this. We know what we voted for. We know why we got behind Trump, and we know that we're not getting it. We're getting like Bitcoin stuff that he's like pushing, and which is like completely crazy. And like, by the way, also you are taking advantage of people that believe in you the most. All of it is just so wrong, and it's so icky. We're aware of the deals that Jared is doing, while you call us funded by Qatar. The deals that Jared is doing in the Middle East with Qatar and Israel, they think we're this dumb.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I have to say, the Republican Party during the course of my entire lifetime has existed running as if they're Ron Paul, and then governing as if they're John McCain. That is the purpose of the Republican Party. They're not going to stop the wars. They're not going to stop the spending. And they allow, the liberal establishment media to define them as fascists and never push back against it. Trump seemed to be a repudiation of that to some extent with his rhetoric, but again, it was never followed up with actions. It was just rhetoric. As far as Bitcoin, I'm very pro-Bitcoin. It's not exactly Trump that's pushing Bitcoin. He's pushing, in my estimation, shitcoin schemes that are, subpar crypto that isn't Bitcoin, and trying to, push in that direction rather than, loosening the reins on Bitcoin. The Feds still, claim to be able to have plenary control of taxation on gains from crypto, including Bitcoin. So yeah, no pushing of Bitcoin, really, so to speak, I hate to say.
And I'm going, wow, like, did you always think we were this dumb? Or actually, is it because you're occupied by the Never Trumpers, and the Never Trumpers have been explicit in the fact that they think that Trump people are dumb? But we're not this dumb, okay? The original MAGA party is not this dumb. We're aware of what you're doing. We're aware of the infiltration, and we are not going to support that.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, as Tucker said when he was on my show a few days ago, he said, if you really ran on an America First message, it's going to be enormously popular, and not just with the right wing. I mean, you could carry half the left wing on that message too. Maybe not all of them, but you could carry a whole lot of independents and liberals and leftists if you just said, hey, look, here's the platform, like a separation, in the same way we had like a separation of church and state or anything like that. You go, a separation of Israel and DC, a separation of Tel Aviv and DC is like a great thing to run on.
That's the best single issue coalition imaginable, but that isn't their calculus. Their calculus is, how do I be as pro-Israel as possible while still trying to convince people and cover their eyes with wool saying I'm still America First. That's the calculation, because the Israel lobby still has so much control. over J.D. Vance, too. He's super pro-Zionist.
That you could get tens of millions of Americans to rally around. That's just it. Our goal here is just, the platform is, we're not going to fight stupid wars. We're not going to have open borders. We're going to start spending within our means. Like how much tax revenue do we bring in every year? That's what we can spend. Okay. We can't borrow and print the money. And I will say, and this will be the last thing I say, and then I'll give you the final word. I do see, like as Mamdani wins, and Ben Shapiro and people like that are going, when did you guys spend any time attacking Mamdani? And it's like,
not once.
Hey, look, I would love in a way to argue with a communist who wants to be mayor of New York City. It's like, the problem is that you guys made the whole argument you've never visited Israel, and then you go, oh, you picked the argument that he was right on, that he was strongest on, was rejecting all of this shit. Oh, sorry, you won't even pledge to be a genocidal demon like us. Like, yeah, okay, well, I actually kind of like that about him.
Yeah, me too, man. For all the faults I think he has, it's them that tried to frame the argument as if he was Hitlerian by saying, hey, I'm going to focus inwardly on New Yorkers and not on this foreign regime. And by the way, the people there should all have equal rights in a single state. They called him Hitlerian for that. Insane. And this is exactly what we're dealing with here. The desperation is so palpable, and America's just not going back. We're not going to do your thing anymore. And Dave is so right about the fact that this single issue coalition to make it America first, to say like, no, actually, we're going to cut ties with Israel. They were charlatans in the last administration. We're actually going to be America only this time, and we're going to spend within our means. That's our platform. For that, they'll be called extremists. They'll be called anti-Semites. They'll be called conspiracy theorists. Everything that they've thrown at us already, and it's not going to work. It's just spaghetti against the wall. You can't get it to stick. You're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, and it ain't being shoved back in there.
But the thing about it is that if we don't, like, and this has always been my thing that I've been beating forever. It's like Ron Paul's whole thing was it was end the Fed and a gold standard and sound money. And why was it that the most anti-war libertarian was always talking about sound money? Because that's the whole game here. Now you let all these Democrats talk about unaffordability. Well, what is unaffordability? What is, that's currency debasement. It's another way of saying this shit that the libertarian Ron Paul guys have been saying for all this time. But the reason why Ben Shapiro or Mark Levin or none of them could ever utter those words out of their mouth, even though they're supposed to be fiscal conservatives, is because you need that type of monetary policy to have a world empire. And that's the only way that you can fight all of Israel's wars, is if you keep devaluing the currency.
That's right. That's the function of the central bank, and it has been since 1913. It has been since the establishment of the Federal Reserve. One of Ron Paul's greatest sentiments was that it's no coincidence that the century of central banking coincided with the century of war. That is how they finance these wars, by devaluing our currency and then profiting on the national debt and being tied into the military-industrial complex, which would not exist either if there was a true market, because consumers don't believe they benefit from that. It's only because the state has a monopoly on violence and a monopoly on the ability to commit atrocities with impunity that they're able to get away with that they're able to get away with shoving American money into the coffers of Lockheed Martin.
We can't afford them. The American people aren't going to be taxed enough for it. This being the world empire is the biggest of big government programs. It's over $1 trillion a year we spend maintaining the empire. And so while Donald Trump is stuck doing all of this shit overseas, he's had to print a ton of money in this first year. And so what's happened with prices? They've just gone up even more than from the Biden years. And so anyway, the point is, like, we really are in a moment here where it's like, do you guys want the socialists to win? Or do you want to keep fighting wars for Israel? Or or you get both of those, right? Like your choice is preserve liberty in the United States of America or fight Israel's wars.
Right.
We all know Ben Shapiro's choice, by the way. It's so evident. We all know Mark Levin's choice and Laura Loomer's choice. And yeah, it has to do with fighting Israel's wars, doubling down on their genocides, making excuses for it, saying that, oh, there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian. That's the course they want. Not preserving liberty on the home front, that's for sure.
That's exactly right. And I just say to people, what you can do is you can control your own household. Like I would never allow my sons to sign up for the military when it's the decisions are made in Tel Aviv of whether or not they're going to die. So all this rah pro-American. No, it's not. It hasn't been pro-American in a very long time. We see that. We saw that recently. And the reality is they need America because they don't have enough bodies. They have enough corruption. They have enough evil. They don't have enough bodies. And this is why they're trying to commit you to their cause ideologically, because you are the slaves that are supposed to go over and die. When they drop bombs and say that they're spreading democracy, but they're actually in Afghanistan having people guard the poppy seeds so that they can cause the opioid crisis, right? Like you're fighting for the Sackler family. You're not fighting because you're up against the Taliban. All of that's nonsense. And people are waking up to that.
They sure are. Amen. I think they're both breathing fire in this segment. That's so true. And no better evidence is shown than the recent war with Iran, by the way, where they legitimately, after clamoring that Iran is seconds away from a nuclear weapon, which they've clamored for 30 years, by the way, saying that Iran was on the cusp of a nuclear weapon, that's what drew the United States in. The United States joins now, and then regime change propaganda started. They unfurled and unleashed this information propaganda campaign against Americans to support regime change. Trump was in on it. Look at Truth Social. He basically made a Truth Social post akin to, well, if Iran doesn't want to make Iran great again, why not there be a regime change? And that was what Netanyahu and Mossad did, calling top officials and generals in Iran saying, hey, surrender right now, the jig's up, we're taking over your regime, and threatening those people with blackmail. We know where your families are. That's literally what they did. That's been reported widely, including by heroes like Max Blumenthal at the Gray Zone. And then they struck regime targets, not just nuclear facilities. Regime change was on the table. But they didn't want to send Israelis to do that. They wanted to draw in the United States to do that, just like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. They wanted the Iraq war just as they want the Iran war now. That's the last country on the clean break strategy list. 7 countries in 5 years. It's the last one that hasn't been regime changed. That's where we're sitting. These two are right. The Israel lobby is suffering. They're losing their grip and stranglehold on the American populace. It hasn't happened yet in the political realm, but hey, I say this in other videos. People know I say this a lot. But Andrew Breitbart was right. Whatever you think about him, politics is downstream from culture. And if the American people are just moving away from this, it's just going to be like a building on a breaking foundation. They're not going to be able to hold our, politicians at bay forever. They're just not. In the same way that it would have been thinkable to believe that all of slavery would end, in the American states in 1840, but that did happen eventually. People are opening their eyes now, and it is happening on the Israel front and the Israel issue. You can't ignore it. It's not one of these issues that no American thinks about. Maybe they don't in terms of that in particular, but they certainly think about it in terms of the different peripheral issues through which Israel affects and clearly spills into. Debt and inflation and hate speech and anti-Semitism and a culture war, all those things feed into this. But what do you guys think? Do you think Dave Smith and Candace Owens are right about this? What does it say that the neocons are steering this administration? Is Trump going to lose even more support than he has now? Will the MAGA coalition be forced to abandon Israel if they want to win in 2028? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Dave Smith. Awesome interview, great segment. Love these two. Great dynamic between them every time they talk. And if you like this video, please consider supporting my YouTube channel as a member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you do so, I'll give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. You'll be able to see those members only videos right away. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below, plug in your email, I'll send it right to you in PDF form. No obligation, no cost whatsoever, just my gift to you. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.